Good morning, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to your morning news report right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. Take a look at these photos right here from the Trump rally last night. As you know, last night in Manchester, New Hampshire at SNHU Arena was the Trump rally. And here is your wrap-up report on everything that happened. Let's begin. Vintage Trump president blasts Democrat socialist economist taunts U.S. economy in Manchester. In a 90-minute campaign speech, President promises to protect Second Amendment of life, nation's borders. In vintage form, President Donald Trump told an energized crowd of about 12,000 people last night that he has turned the nation's economy around and restored its military strength and promised to continue to protect America's Second Amendment rights. The 2020 election, Trump said at the SNHU Arena, is about one thing, and you know what the one thing is. It's about you, it's about your family, it's about your future, and it's about the fate of our country. And also, President Donald Trump blasted some of the Democrat candidates that are running for president last night in his speech. And also, he called one person in the crowd fat and told them to go home and exercise. President Trump speaks one-on-one with WMUR about issues facing New Hampshire. Answers questions on opioid crisis, healthcare, and gun control. Back in New Hampshire for his first campaign rally since 2016, President Donald Trump once again packed downtown Manchester's Southern New Hampshire University Arena. In a one-on-one interview, the president said he's still making the opioid crisis here a priority. Trump has taken a lot of heat for referring to New Hampshire as a drug-infested den in 2017. With Democrat challengers campaigning on health care, the president told us he'll roll out a new health care plan, but he needs Republicans to take back the House in 2020. On the issue of gun violence, the president recently came out in favor of meaningful background checks, but indicated to us the chances of a compromise deal are remote. As Trump former campaign manager Corey Landusky eyes a U.S. Senate run in New Hampshire, the president is giving strong signals Landusky will have his support. Trump supporters, protesters gather in Manchester for rally. Let's take a look at this video.
For 10 years, New England homeowners have trusted Century Roofing. We get the job done right at a fair price. Call today to arrange a free estimate and to reserve a spot for your 2019 roof replacement. Century Roofing, we've got you covered.
Back in New Hampshire for his first campaign rally since 2016, President Donald Trump once again packed downtown Manchester's SNHU arena. In a one-on-one interview, the president said he's still making the opioid crisis here a top priority.
So it really is, and it's something that's taken place in New Hampshire almost more than any proportionately, almost more Ohio, New Hampshire. We have really worked hard on the opioid, as you know. Tremendous lawsuits going in against the pharmaceutical companies. And we have it down 16, 17%, which is tremendous. That doesn't satisfy anything, but we have it down.
Trump has taken a lot of heat for referring to New Hampshire as a drug-infested den back in 2017. Do you feel you owe the people of New Hampshire who might be offended by that an apology?
No, because this is what they tell me. I mean, they say, we're drug-infested, sir. We're drug-infested. I don't mean that as a knock. I mean, it's a fact.
With Democratic challengers campaigning on health care, the president tells us he'll roll out a new health care plan, but he needs Republicans to take back the House in 2020.
Because we're not going to get the Democrats to vote for it because they're doing Medicare for All, which is going to take away your freedom, take away your doctors.
On the issue of gun violence, the president recently came out in favor of, quote, meaningful background checks, but indicated to us the chances of a compromise deal appear remote.
So we're looking at it right now. We're dealing with a lot of Republicans, very strong conservative Republicans, and we're coming up with a plan if we can. Remember this, we have a lot of background checks already.
As Trump's former campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, eyes a U.S. Senate run in New Hampshire, the president is giving strong signals Lewandowski will have his support. If he runs, will you endorse him?
Well, I'll tell you what, he's outstanding, and if he tells me, we will certainly make a decision quickly, but he's a great guy, and if he ran, I think he could really do amazingly well. He's smart, he's tough, he loves New Hampshire.
Now, on his way here, President Trump once again made the allegation that he thought that illegal votes stole the election from him here in New Hampshire in 2016. In our interview, we pointed out to him that Secretary of State Bill Gardner conducted an exhaustive investigation and found no evidence of widespread coordinated voter fraud. The president tells us he's now taking a broader view, but believes that voter fraud is still an issue nationwide. Now, at these Trump rallies, oftentimes even bigger news is made from the podium. For more on that, let's go to Gene Mackin.
And Adam, the crowd is certainly thinned out now. They're packing up the merchandise tables here. And as you mentioned, the president seemed a bit nostalgic to be back in New Hampshire after winning his first primary here. Then he did go on to lose the general election. At tonight's re-election rally, he came ready with some promises, protecting the Second Amendment, building the wall, and defeating Democrats. President Trump returned to the stage, ready to reminisce about the last primary cycle.
I want to thank Manchester and New Hampshire, very special. You remember those primaries? That primary came around, and remember what happened during the primary? Trump should come in third or fourth, and we came in easily number one, and that was the beginning.
And ready to talk about the next primary.
We're actually here today to officially launch our campaign to win the great state of New Hampshire in 2020.
He first targeted Hillary Clinton before the Democrats in this presidential race.
Now we have a group of socialists or communists, could be.
Calling out some candidates one by one.
Let's vote for Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren. You got Kamala. Kamala is falling. You got Beto. Beto is like gone.
And telling the crowd Joe Biden is a disaster.
Is there anything better than a Trump rally? What about a sleepy Joe Biden rally?
On gun violence, he suggested building facilities for the mentally ill.
It's not the gun that pulls the trigger. It's the person holding the gun.
On the opioid epidemic in New Hampshire, he pointed to the wall.
You just seem to have a bigger problem. And by the way, the wall is being built. That's going to stop a lot of it.
And on the economy, he said New Hampshire will soon have the lowest unemployment rate in the history of the country, saying without him, the economy will crash.
You have no choice but to vote for me. because your 401ks, down the tubes, everything's going to be down the tubes. So whether you love me or hate me, you got to vote for me.
Now, a few protesters were led out during tonight's rally. At one point, the president pointed to one man and said, "That guy's got a serious weight problem. Go home and start exercising." Now, most protesters stayed outside, and WMUR's Mike Cronin is joining us live with their reaction to tonight's rally.
Yeah, Gene, the crowds have dispersed. The roads have reopened. A much different scene at the front of the arena than it was just a few hours ago when there were people all over the place, both for and against the president.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Donald Trump has got to go!
Outside SNHU Arena, the chants clashed. Supporters and protesters of the president faced off, with police keeping watch close by. Social justice advocacy groups lined up, hundreds of people with a message for the president.
I mean, there's nothing I literally could think of that I think he's doing right. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Democrat, Republican, whatever. It's just every day something else comes out that I'm just appalled by.
I'm a resident of Manchester, and I'm a lifelong registered Republican.
And yet you're here protesting the president's visit.
I am definitely here protesting this president. Never, ever did I think this country would sink so far, so fast.
Protesters say President Trump's rhetoric is hateful and his policies are dangerous.
We have a president here who represents what the country is not. We do not represent hatred. We do not represent racism. We do not represent building a wall and keeping people out of here just because they're not white.
Children, innocent children are being kidnapped from their parents. It's just, we're a civil society. We don't do this. We don't behave like this.
This group says they wanted to do something to show that the president's views don't represent New Hampshire.
Everything else he is doing is making our country a disgrace in the face of the rest of the world.
Protesters recognize that New Hampshire could be a battleground state in 2020, and they say they will do everything they can to get their message out there. Reporting live in Manchester, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this full wrap-up report of the Donald Trump campaign rally at SNHU Arena in Manchester, New Hampshire. That happened last night. I hope you enjoyed this morning news report of the wrap-up of the Trump rally last night. Have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday, everyone. I'll see you back here later on today for another news report. Goodbye, everyone.